What's going on, my little tortilla chips? Welcome back to Nacho Wrestling, and welcome back to Versus, the series where I take a look at two wrestlers in a hypothetical matchup, pit them against each other for 5 rounds, and see which one comes out on top. See which wrestler I think is the better overall wrestler. And in today's episode, we are taking a look at one of the biggest hypothetical matchups that we have talked about in the past 10 years as wrestling fans. That's right, if you can read the thumbnail, if you can read the title, it is the cleaner, the best Bout Machine, Kenny, by God Omega, versus the architect, the visionary, Seth freaking Rollins. But before we get into the grading criteria and we get down to the meat and potatoes of the video, as always, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay up to date on all things Nacho Wrestling. And if this is your first time watching a Nacho Wrestling video, why don't you consider hitting that subscribe button and sharing this video with your friends? It would be greatly appreciated. And without further ado, let's get into Seth Rollins versus Kenny Omega. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the video, let's go over the grading criteria. Like every other Versus episode before this one and every episode after this, these rounds are based on my opinion, with the exception of round 3, of course, which is backed up by stats from cagematch.net. Each round 1 for the wrestler will result in 1 point for them, and no point will be deducted for a loss or a tie. As I said, these rounds are based on my opinion, so if you have an issue with it, please sound off in the comments below why I am wrong and why your answer is better than mine. I don't see you making videos about it, though. The 5 rounds are as follows. We have round 1, look and presentation. Round 2, mic and promo ability. Round 3, overall match quality. Round 4, kayfabe accomplishments. And round 5, overall legacy. So with the grading criteria out of the way, let's get into round 1, look and presentation. Now, I could sit here all day and talk to you about why both these guys have evolved so much over the years and have really reached their final forms as wrestlers. You know, think of it like Pokemon, if you will, you know, from Bulbasaur to whatever, or from Pikachu to whatever, or Charmander to Charizard. That's the only one I know. Seth these days is known for his flamboyant, loud, beautiful looking attire that he wears to the ring and wrestles in. And nowadays he's wearing like just a plain all black suit, which I don't know if he's supposed to be going back to like the original vision from like pandemic era Seth Rollins. I'm not really sure what that's about, because I watched Saturday Night's Main Event last night, but like I don't know. But he's known to reference things in his gear, whether it be his polka dot gear that he had when he fought Cody at Hell in a Cell, or whether it be dusting off the old Shield gear against Roman. He knows how to get inside the head of his opponent with his gear, which really does elevate his look and presentation compared to some other WWE wrestlers who kind of just do pop culture gimmicks or pop culture themes for their gear with no real explanation about it. But more than his banging attire, Seth also has some pretty solid theme songs, all things considered. There, of course, is the original Second Coming theme song, which, if you don't know how it goes, I'm not going to play a snippet of it because I don't want to get a copyright strike, but look it up. It's iconic. It was what he used when he first left the Shield and was on his own and was, you know, bought out or sold in, whatever, sold out, bought in, I don't remember. Been 10 years. Now, of course, he uses the theme song titled The Vision, which is good. It has some good orchestral stuff. It has some good like choir, like sorry about that. But you know, that being said, the crowd gets involved with his theme song, whether it be the burn it down part or whether it be the singing. The crowd is able to get involved with his theme song, which always helps the look and presentation of the wrestler. If they get jazzed by just hearing the theme song, they're gonna enjoy seeing you in a black suit or in a colorful blue leather jacket, or, you know, whenever he was doing the stuff with Becky, like that stuff. Like anything Seth does usually gets a good reaction, because people really like his theme song, if that makes sense. Like, people enjoy Seth for the bare minimum stuff. And that's not a diss at all. I'm just like trying to explain why Seth is so loved, but doesn't have to do a lot. Like, his theme song carries a lot of weight for him. His gear carries a lot of weight for him. Does that make sense? I hope so. Meanwhile, Kenny Omega has had a pretty turbulent time in AEW when it comes to his look and presentation, if we're being completely honest. But like Seth, it has evolved over the years. It has gotten better, from his New Japan stuff to his stuff in AEW, and even before New Japan, his stuff at DDT Pro, where he was basically just wearing like Omega Man gear and everything like that. I thought that was really good. Nowadays he's wearing very cool gear, and his gear always has some sort of meaning to it too. The purple and black gear he wore, that was a callback to his Grand Slam gear with Bryan Danielson. And of course, the gear he wore when he won the AEW title for the second time was the same style gear, but with Kota Ibushi colors for his best friend and his golden lover, Kota Ibushi. So just like Seth, his gear has meaning, his gear has emphasis behind it. It's not like another guy who, just wears Assassin's Creed gear because it's his favorite video game. Sorry, Will. Actually, no, I'm not sorry. One thing that Kenny does need to work on a little bit, and hopefully becomes a bit more of a standard thing for him going forward, even if he loses the AEW World title, wear a suit. You want to feel like the end-all be-all, the final boss of AEW.
If you smell what The Rock is cooking.
No, not that final boss. The final boss, the final game boss of AEW. You want to be the top guy. You want to feel like the top guy. I really don't think that you should be wearing t-shirts and shorts to the ring, ever, if you want to be the top guy. Roman at least throws that shit on. He's got some nice Jordans, maybe some jeans and like a hoodie or something, but at least it's like not business casual. It's like still casual, but it's just not business. You could go with business casual. That's fine. Like, at least a button-up shirt and some jeans and some Jordans. Give me something. But it wouldn't be looking presentation if we didn't talk about Kenny's theme songs. Of course, Devil's Cry is the best New Japan theme song probably ever. It's iconic. It's memorable. Everyone wanted it to come over to AEW with him, and it sadly didn't. He had Battle Cry, which took a while for people to love, but nowadays people love Battle Cry just as much as Devil's Sky. I think I fucked that up at first. Editing Ryan, did I fuck it up? Devil's Cry. I'm gonna assume I fucked it up. That being said, whether it be Devil's Sky, whether it be Battle Cry, both theme songs really encapsulate what Kenny Omega is to wrestling. At the end of the day, I'm gonna have to give the win to round one to Seth Rollins. I think Seth really pigeonholed and found out what he needs to do to not only get over with the crowd in very easy and simple ways, but also how to take that and enhance it or dial it back when need be, like going back to the Shield gear or wearing simple polka dots with Cody, like I mentioned. All that stuff, I think, really helps Seth get the win here in this first round. And for Kenny, if we're being honest, he's just now figuring out that he's the guy of AEW, and he's wearing suits, sort of like how MJF always wears suits. It kind of just, obviously neither of these guys are the true QB1 of either company. But at least Seth carries himself, has that personality that he's ready to take that torch and run it if he needed to. Does that make sense? Round one result: Seth Rollins 1, Kenny Omega 0. Round 2, mic and talking ability. Now, we could go all day about how both these guys aren't a great promo, and they're really not. Some people might think Seth is better. Some people might think Kenny is better because of his more just natural, flowy way of talking and just being genuine on the mic. And I lean more towards Kenny these days than Seth. I feel like Seth is trying very hard to crawl out of that hole that Roman put him in with the, exactly, no pop joke. That stuff apart or along with everything else that Seth does, like, it just feels so ham-fisted. It feels like he's really trying to just get a good one-liner off, like, Jey Uso with the yeet or the warning shot gimmick. So I don't know. I want to give a draw here, but then we run the risk of tying again, and we run the risk of them going 2-2 and it being a complete wash. We've never had that on Versus, and I don't want to start having that now, especially for a feud like this. So I think Kenny's promos today are a little better than what Seth's doing. Again, my opinion. So if you disagree with me, flame me in the comments for that. I really don't care. Be respectful about it or get your comment deleted. Kenny Omega gets the win here. So round 2 result: Kenny Omega 1, Seth Rollins 1. Come on. It's my favorite round. It is the round that you can't get mad at me for because it's backed up by statistics, courtesy of my good friends over at cagematch.net. Just kidding. I don't know anybody from cagematch.net. But that being said, let's take a look at where these two guys lie in the rankings. So Kenny is at the number 10 spot, and then Seth Rollins is just below him at the number 20 spot. So they're not too far below each other. or there's not too far separated from each other, rather, I should say. But Kenny, of course, is going to have a higher score, which we'll get to. But let's start with Seth. Seth is boasting a pretty impressive 8.77 score, which is nothing to sneeze at. Pretty solid, just under 9, which, you know, for a WWE guy, especially like in the modern era WWE, really good. Really good. Can't complain about that. If I was Seth, I'd be happy with that score. But it does not help him against Kenny Omega, who literally has a score of 9.57, which I will have to do some research on, go back on my old scripts, but I am pretty sure that is the highest score we have ever seen. 9.57. That is less than 0.5 away from a perfect 10. Call him Ty Dillinger, the way he be dropping perfect 10s year in and year out. Yeah, the win goes to Kenny Omega. No really ifs, ands, buts about it, so sorry guys. Round 3 result. Kenny Omega 2, Seth Rollins 1. Round 4, we have kayfabe accomplishments. Now, this is the one where we take a look at what they've done inside the ring within their characters, not everything outside. That, of course, comes last with overall legacy. And both these guys have won a lot of fucking gold for their respective companies. Kenny Omega is the first ever AEW Grand Slam champion, which some people might scoff at because he's never held the TNT title. But, like, that title doesn't fucking matter anymore, so, yeah, whatever. He's never going to touch it. I guess Kenny's not a Grand Slam champion, if we're being honest. But Kenny is a decorated champion, not only in AEW, but, of course, in New Japan. He is the first ever non-Japanese wrestler to win the historic G1 Climax, which, if you don't know what that is, and you're watching me, or what are you, living under a fucking rock? Go watch the G1 this year. It's fucking awesome. G1 glaze aside, let's get into the Seth Rollins side of kayfabe accomplishments. What has Seth won? Well, Seth is a 2-time Royal Rumble winner, a 2-time Money in the Bank winner. He was the first person to ever cash in at WrestleMania, and then he cashed in again at SummerSlam. 2 moments of varying excitement levels, if we're being honest, but 2 moments nonetheless that are infamous, that are popular, that a lot of people talk about. And apart from that, he also, met his wife in WWE, which is not a kayfabe accomplishment, but is still an accomplishment nonetheless, and everything like that. He started his family because of WWE. Not kayfabe, again, but still pretty cool. What else has Seth done? I mean, gosh, he's a Grand Slam champion, Intercontinental, US, Tag Team, World title, both versions of the World title, technically. He is part of the lineage of the Undisputed Championship, that ugly mustard-looking belt, and then the Big Gold belt, or Big Gold V2, as it's called. So both these guys have won a lot, clearly, from their main companies they're in now to the companies they were in back in the day. Because I almost forgot to mention how Seth was also a Ring of Honor World Champion and a Ring of Honor Tag Team Champion twice with Jimmy Jacobs. So, clearly both guys are trusted to be the top prospect, to be the top champion in multiple companies. Whether it's for 200 days, whether it's for 300 days, or a week, month, whatever, they are trusted to hold a lot of gold. All that being said, I'm going to have to give the win here to Kenny Omega. It is undoubtedly obvious that Kenny is one of, if not the most decorated wrestlers in the modern era. Maybe of all time, if we're being honest. I mean, the first non-Japanese wrestler, the first gaijin to win a G1. That is a trivia answer for a lot of wrestling fans out there. So yeah, give me the win to Kenny Omega. Round 4 result. Seth Rollins 1, Kenny Omega 3. So if you know how a best of 5 series works, this round technically doesn't matter, but let's take a look and see if Seth can eke one out anyway. I do think both men will go down as 2 of the best wrestlers of their respective companies and of their respective era. They were revolutionary. No pun intended for Seth there, but they revolutionized the landscape of wrestling, not just AEW and New Japan, or not just WWE and AAA or whatever. They revolutionized, they led to this new era of wrestling that we watch today. And I know a lot of people hate this new era of wrestling that we watch today, all this petty competition and, cheap jabs thrown at each other, counter-programming each other constantly and everything like that. But there's no such thing as the mythical casual fan. We all love to watch wrestling, and whether it's AEW, whether it's WWE, we have our favorites. And these two are up there as one of the more well-renowned, well-liked favorites amongst the majority of their respective fan bases. I'm saying respective a lot, but I really got to preface, like, for some reason, if they love Seth Rollins, they hate Kenny. If they love Kenny, they hate Seth. It doesn't make any sense to me. Seth is always going to be a part of WWE history and WWE lore, especially with how much they reference The Shield, which was Roman, him, and Dean Ambrose, also known as John Moxley, which, I mean, if you don't know that and you watch WWE, I don't know how you don't know that. They fucking hit you on the head with it every time. But the Shield is important because those three guys are literally the top three guys in wrestling, or at least they were like 2-3 years ago. They were on top of the fucking world, and they led to what we now know as, I mean, not they didn't lead to, but like they led to so much things happening. If the Shield didn't debut the way they did, if the Shield didn't debut as those three guys, and it was Cassius Ohno, aka Chris Hero, instead of Roman Reigns, who the fuck knows what would have happened instead, if we're being honest. But Seth going out on his own, becoming his own man, being the man to cash in at WrestleMania for the first time against Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns was fucking huge. It'll be remembered forever. It'll be talked about forever. The heist of the century is up there with WrestleMania moments like the Miracle on Bourbon Street, Kofi Mania, Becky Lynch winning the first women's main event at WrestleMania. It is up there as a very important milestone for WWE. However, Kenny is literally a forefather of the number 2 promotion in the United States. And for all you little TNA weirdos out there that are going to try and tell me that Kenny is not, or AEW is not number 2 and TNA is, shut the fuck up. Kenny, along with the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes, helped revolutionize this era of wrestling more than Seth and the Shield did. They literally created the number 2 promotion, the biggest competition that WWE has had since WCW and ECW back in the late 90s and early 2000s. Well, more like early 90s, late 90s. The 2000 WCW sucks. I think the biggest reason why Kenny wins this round is because if something else went down, let's say Kenny and the Bucks and Cody went back to WWE together for the first time in 2019 instead of starting their own company, things in this wrestling landscape would look so much different. Would WWE be better? Maybe. Would they still be what they are now? Also maybe. We have no idea how to tell, except to one day build a time machine and go back and force their hand. So it's with that I'm going to give the win in round 5 to Kenny Omega. Round 5 result: Seth Rollins 1, Kenny Omega 4. There you have it. Kenny Omega put belt to ass in this episode of Versus. He said Seth Rollins is who? Oh, you mean Tyler Black. Yeah, I know that guy. Kenny won. No ifs, ands, buts about it for me personally. I think Kenny is the better wrestler than Seth. I don't think it's really that close. I think Kenny has a much better match catalog. I think Kenny has a much better, evolution and way of changing his character up that feels fresh, from the belt collector, or from the tag team stuff with Hangman to the belt collector to the crisis of confidence and thinking that he would never win the belt again because of diverticulitis to now being champion again. It's just a linear progression that makes sense, right? And then Seth, of course, Seth is one of the masters of reinvention. He can come up with a new character, and that character works for about 2 months before people get tired of it. And that's just my opinion, but I think a lot of people would agree with that. Seth is great. This is not a diss on Seth. I know I kind of did that a lot in this video, but I think Seth is really great. He is one of the best WWE superstars that WWE has, and it's a damn shame that they feel the need to force Punk, Cody, and Roman down our throat and don't try to build up Seth a little more. So with all that being said, let me know what you thought about the return episode of Versus down in the comments below, and let me know what you guys want to see next episode of Versus. Who do you want to see pitted against each other? Could be a tag team, could be 2 women, it don't matter. Let me know what you guys want to see down in the comments below. Also, let me know who you think would win in this matchup down in the comments below as well. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay up to date on all things Nacho Wrestling, and I will see you guys next time.